Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to be looking at the disastrous Battle of Cannae. I say disastrous for the Romans. Now, as we've seen, in the year 216 BC, the two consuls for that year were Aemilius Paulus and Terentius Varro. Now, Varro was the plebeian candidate and had absolutely no military experience. Aemilius Paulus, however, the patrician candidate, was a very experienced general and a good friend of Fabius. So when these two consuls set off from Rome to take on Hannibal, Fabius, the general, warned his friend that he wouldn't just be contending with Hannibal and the Carthaginian army, he would actually be contending with his consular colleague, Terentius Varro. Now, at this stage, Hannibal was running low on supplies, and so he advanced on and captured the town of Cannae, where he filled his soldiers up with good Italian cooking, and they got themselves ready for another engagement with the Romans. Hannibal knew that the Romans significantly outnumbered him, but he also knew that the two consuls were at loggerheads, and so he was quietly confident that he would be able to sort out the Romans. Aemilius Paulus, as I've said, the friend of Fabius, was very keen to continue with Fabius's tactics, those Fabian tactics of delay, which we've talked about. But his colleague Varro was a much more impetuous chap, and although he didn't have any military experience, he was keen to just get in amongst the Carthaginians and see if he could beat them. Now, rather bizarrely, the two consuls took alternate days in command of the army. That was the way they'd worked out how to distribute their power. Every other day, one of them was in charge. So, as you can probably guess, on the days when Aemilius Paulus was in charge, sensible military tactics were employed, and he, was just keeping away from the Carthaginians, but keeping them under observation. Whereas Varro just wanted to get in amongst them. And sure enough, on the day that Varro was in charge, he advanced towards the Carthaginian army and prepared to attack. Now, Hannibal deliberately allowed a weakness in the middle of his ranks to develop, and the Romans, under their rather rash and inexperienced general Varro, pushed through the middle of the Carthaginian rank and very quickly found that they'd been trapped in the middle of the Carthaginian army. They were trapped in the middle. It was a sort of classic booby trap, really, and sure enough, the Carthaginians just proceeded to annihilate the Romans. Realizing that they were in serious trouble, the Roman army just prepared to die, like Roman soldiers. Somebody offered a horse to Aemilius Paulus to let him escape on, but he said, no, I'm going to stay here and die with my men. Varro, however, he did take a horse and he legged it and got away to safety. But the Roman army were wiped out. 45,500 foot soldiers, apparently, were slaughtered at the Battle of Cannae, along with 2,700 horsemen. It was an absolute disaster. Had Hannibal pushed on with his advantage and advanced on Rome, he almost certainly would have just walked straight into the city. The Romans were demoralised and depressed by news of the disaster at Cannae, and they probably would have just surrendered. But as so often in the past, Hannibal was a bit slow to press home his advantage, and Rome did live to fight another day. Apparently the day after the battle, there was a really grim sight for anyone who happened to be kind of walking across the battlefield. Some of the Roman soldiers, so depressed by the disaster that they could see was unfolding in front of them, had dug holes in the dirt and literally buried their heads in the ground so that they couldn't see the humiliation of the disaster that was going to take over. Some of the wounded Roman soldiers were lying there exposing their throats to anyone who would put them out of their misery. And one very peculiar sight, there was a Numidian soldier. So the Numidians were the allies of the Carthaginians. And during the battle, this Numidian soldier had jumped onto a Roman to kill him. The Roman had lost his sword, had no other weapons, and so he literally just bit the Numidian. And as he was being killed by the Numidian soldier, the Roman just clung on with his teeth to the Numidian. And the Numidian was found with a badly lacerated ear and nose, where he'd suffered these terrible kind of biting wounds from this brave Roman soldier who just was not going to give up. So the Battle of Cannae was one of those disasters that the Romans never forgot. It wiped out a whole swathe of the equestrian class, the 2,700 horsemen, wiped out. And Hannibal was so impressed by his own success that of those 2,700 horsemen, he chopped off the rings from their fingers, the gold rings that marked them out as knights, and those rings were sent back to Carthage as a sign of his victory. Okay, not a great point in the history of Rome. It was something they looked back on, forever after as one of the big disasters. But next time we will see how they fared and how they turned the situation around and got rid of Hannibal. Okay, see you back on this channel very soon. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Drop me a comment in the box below if you have any issues, and we'll see you very soon.